ODBC, or Open Database Connectivity, allows you to grab data from another program. Any program that supports ODBC, such as Excel, Word, SQL Server, or Oracle. Now we're going to give you a very basic overview of ODBC. It's the subject of a 40-hour class, a whole week class. We really can't go over it, but I want to give you an idea that FileMaker does support ODBC. It can be a host or a client. That means it can get ODBC data or give ODBC data. You can accomplish this in several ways. You can do an import, you can do an SQL query through scripts, or you can use ESS. That's a live link, and that's pretty cool actually, because you can actually have the live data. These first two methods are exchanges. They're a snapshot. You get the data, you send it back. You do it at once. You have to tell it when it's going to have to happen. ESS is constantly linking to that ODBC data, which is pretty cool. So let's take a look at where you can do these things. If you go to the File menu and choose Import Records, you'll see ODBC Data Source. You'll have to use that in conjunction with your Manage External Data Sources. And if you remember here, when we click New, we can do an ODBC data source. We're not going to do that, but if you're familiar with ODBC, you'll know how to do this. So we'll cancel out of that. Now in FileMaker, we can go ahead and see what we can do. There is a script step called Execute. There we go. See if we can find it. Execute SQL, which will allow you to talk to an ODBC host and figure out what information to bring over. Or you can also choose Import, and that has that option, the same one as we showed you on the menu, for choosing ODBC data. So there's all your choices for ODBC. Let's go ahead and delete that script. Now, Windows applications provide their own client drivers. On the Macintosh, you're going to require a third-party driver, and there's some websites of some people who sell them. Now, if you have a Windows server and some Macintosh clients, you can actually put that driver just on the server. So that's an advantage. You don't have to necessarily have it on every single client that's connected to that server. Let's go ahead and move to the next slide here. Let's talk about XML, yet another way to exchange information from different programs. It's kind of the new kid on the block, and we saw a little bit about XML before. It's a meta language, kind of like HTML, but the tags describe the information, making it really easy for two proprietary systems to exchange data. So you can share data with any program that supports XML. One of the most common ways is to publish FileMaker to a web browser, because a web browser, most at least these days, do support XML. And FileMaker can import and export XML, as we'll see. And you can also take that XML and transform it with an XSL style sheet. That will transform that data into another program, because it's going to have some way of looking at all these meta tags and data and figuring out what to do with it inside their program. So let's go to the next slide here, and we're going to go ahead and show you how to do a little bit of XML import. We happen to have in your work files xml.txt, and let's take a look at that file real quickly. It's pretty complicated. This is the subject of another 40-hour class, but what you'll see in here is some sample data from an XML export, and that's simply done by going to the File menu, choosing Export. Not export. You won't find it in here. Well, you do find it there. XML is export right there. It's the import. You won't find an import record. You'll find it not under the file, but XML data source, which we'll do later. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at this, and you can see here is one of those tags, data. It describes that data. And you see that there's some data you can actually read here, but everything's surrounded by tags. As you go through here, you'll see several records. You'll see more tags coming up, like record ID and data again. And so this is how FileMaker reads this information. It looks at those tags. So we're actually going to try importing this. Go to Import XML Data Source. And here's where we can choose a file right here. Just choose xml.txt. We don't need to transform it because we're going FileMaker to FileMaker. This is actually generated from a FileMaker database. So we can just go ahead and import it directly. And we just have to match up the fields. So inside this, we're looking at this slideshow. We're going to take the title, move it up to the subject, and then take the bullets and move it up to the description. Add new records. Simple as that. You'll see that it pulls in 3 records, I believe. Yep, 3 records. And it's just simply announcements. Fairly old announcements, but they're announcements. We'll get rid of those. Then what we can also do is take a look at doing a live XML import. This is a live database that's on the internet right now. I'm going to go ahead and grab this information, copy it to the clipboard, and we're going to go ahead and do another import XML data source. And this time we're going to do an HTTP request. So we'll paste that right in there. And what it basically does, it looks at the databasepros.com website, looks for the database called news, a layout called CGI. You use the format FMP XML. It says find anything greater than the creation date of 10/1/2009 and find that, and then it'll do the import. So we're just sending it basically a name, a value pair, and it'll go ahead and use that to not import everything because there's thousands of news releases up there. So we'll do that. It's going to take a little bit longer to do this, but we just have basically the same things to match up, title and bullets. Need to match up to, and let's see if we can find them. Description. There we go. Put that one there. And then title goes to subject. There we go. Add new records, import. And it actually happened pretty quickly. Got the 25 most recent articles. And if we look through them, we'll see that it's current data. Well, it's since that date in 2009. There we go. We don't need these either. So we haven't given you a ton of information about how FileMaker works with ODBC and XML. I want to give you just an overview, an introduction. That's not what this tutorial is all about. We're about programming FileMaker in ways you can do just with FileMaker tools. ODBC and XML require additional knowledge to do this, and we're not going to go over that. But if you do need to do it, it's there. It's quite capable. It's supported both of these technologies for a while, so it works really well.